Welcome to the latest episode of Middle Ground with JLE L.L.C, where we treat you like family. Season 7, Episode 2. That is the theme song, Detroit Love, off my album, my first album, JLE Experience. I own the music, all copyrights to it. Don't mute nothing, Facebook. Had an issue yesterday, just saying. I gotta put that out there so it's on tape. I own this. That is me. Don't touch it. Don't mute nothing. I'm gonna have to call these people again. But back to the show. Sorry about that, people. I digress. We have another amazing guest, my family. She's on the show back in December where she talked about writing a book about her story and is here and we're going to share about it. So gotta give her accolades because she's out here doing amazing stuff. We have the mental health advocate, minister, international speaker, life coach, founder, CEO of HoWELL Are You, best-selling author, and author of the upcoming Crazy Didn't Get Me, Cynthia Mobley. How? Welcome to the show, fam.
Hey, Jeffrey, thank you. And I love that new intro. That wasn't quite long enough. I was just getting into it, and then you like cut it. I'm like, but then you say that's mine. Don't mess with it. Don't bother it. Don't touch it. So I ain't gonna touch that. I'll let you do what you do. But I love it. I love it. Moving on up to the East Side family.
I was at 3 o'clock in the morning, like I gotta get better. I gotta know my name out in these streets. I'm somebody.
Yes, that's right. That's what my mom. That's right. That's what my mom used to say. You somebody. So if you somebody, then act like you somebody.
And that's the album cover of JLE World that's out. Go get it. More great music. I like this made sense.
Yes. And I've been dragging. I got to get my hands on that. I've been dragging my feet. I went over to YouTube. I've been over there bebopping. I heard you. Yeah.
Hey, playing in your car, that bang gonna have you like in Florida, like, what up, though? I'm from Detroit for a minute. You know him? Yeah, I know that man. So we're gonna get right into it. First question: what led you to write "Crazy Didn't Get Me"?
That's a very good question. For years, and I've been telling my story for quite some time now, but this last year, since around April of 2021, where I actually took the stage at the Leadership Experience tour in Troy, Michigan, as a matter of fact, was when I really put it out there. But just to give you a little bit of background, and if I didn't say it, thank you again for having me. But just to give you a little bit of background, I am one of 4 siblings, and I was raised in a household with 2 parents. And like I said, I was one of 4 siblings. I was the youngest and the only girl. So here's the clincher. It was 4 of us, and the other 3, which were brothers, were all affected by severe mental health issues. So there was drama going and coming all the time. It was constant drama because imagine 3 people in one house with mental health issues. That means when we got one under control, another one would pop off. You get him under control, then another one would pop off. You get that one under control. Yeah, they were popping like popcorn. Yeah, popping like popcorn. So I remember, I went through all of that, and when you're actually in the middle of all of that, things are happening, but it kind of becomes a norm. So you just kind of go with the flow. So all of those years, I went with the flow. But as I got older and became independent and, was out on my own and reflecting back, in retrospect of all that happened, I would say to myself, or I would say to people jokingly, I'm gonna write a book one day. And I was just joking, really, because everything that went on, I was like, I'm gonna write a book one day. And I was like laughing about it because I really
Mhm.
wasn't serious. But I'm,
Mhm.
I need to write a book one day. I just need to let people know, you know, what had happened. But I was really joking. But the day came where God told me it's time to write the book.
Mhm.
And that was in 2016, Jeffrey.
Okay.
2016. 2016. And so I started writing the book in 2016 because I felt like it was really time for people to hear my story. To answer your question, what made me write the book? At that time, I felt like it was time for people to hear my story. So now that was 2016. And I guess you said, well, that was 2016. This is 2022. What happened? I actually finished the manuscript in 2017.
Okay.
And I've been actually sitting on the manuscript for many reasons since 2017. But in short, what made me write the book was I knew that people needed to hear my story. I didn't exactly know why, because remember now,
Mhm.
this came to me to do in 2016. People weren't talking about mental health
No,
issues.
they wasn't talking about all.
I was. I remember doing a Facebook Live where I actually came out. And I remember I named it. I was telling people, I'm going to come on Facebook Live. I'm going to start doing a Facebook Live. This is in 2016. And I remember titling the Facebook Live, Shh, Don't Tell Nobody. So,
Okay.
people were hopping on like, woo, what is this about? Woo, they were hopping on. I had them, honey. They was coming. They were coming. They wanted to know, what is she getting ready to say? You know what I'm saying? We like secrets. We
Yeah.
like for
Love
secrets.
drama.
Yeah.
Love drama.
Yeah, we like drama, exactly. But that Facebook Live was when I initially announced that I was writing the book Crazy Didn't Get Me.
Okay. Well, we got a family member, Lamont Howe, a blessed and amazing woman of God who will not cross the line.
Yeah, that's the other half.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah,
Lamont,
I'm learning. Start putting people's stuff up here. Not professional with this time.
gone. I told you. Listen, the more you grow, the more you glow.
There you go. I gotta be shining these streets.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You better.
Yeah. So, what was the experience writing what you lived through in words?
Ooh, man, that is a loaded question.
Take time because it took me a while to write all this down last night. I wanted to make sure we focus on the book, set you out right. We'll keep,
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
no doubt.
The experience writing the book. Hey, Trina. There goes
Mhm.
Trina. Hey.
And we got another one.
I really had no idea when I started writing the book. I had no idea how, when I hit certain places, started talking about certain things, I had no idea how it was going to hit me. There were times when I would literally have to push myself back from the computer because I was actually typing it. We in the day of typing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Author life. Hey,
right.
Lamont.
I would literally have to push myself back from the computer and just regain my composure. There were times when I was typing things and I felt like, well, no, I didn't feel like it. I couldn't breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, did this stuff actually happen?
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
talking to myself. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that did happen. But it was so overwhelming. And to actually be reliving it, as you say, I couldn't, some days I couldn't hardly take it. I would just break down and boo-hoo cry like, wow, these things actually happened. And when people get their hands on the book, Crazy Didn't Get Me, they're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about, because I've been posting my excerpt, chapter 1 of the book, and the feedback that I've been getting from people, they're like, oh my God, because I started off like with a bang. I get right on in there. I get right on into it. The beginning, the first chapter gets right on into it. And people are already saying like, oh my God, wow.
Yeah.
So that's how I was feeling when I was writing the book at times. Oh my God, wow. Did these things actually happen? Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So it was so overwhelming at times until, like I said, I could hardly catch my breath. I couldn't hardly breathe. I could hardly breathe because it was just so overwhelming, because it felt like I was having an out of body experience. Yeah, it was tough. Because I remember a lot. My best friend always teases me. She said, "Girl, you got a good memory." When we'll be trying to think of somebody's name from
Mm-hmm.
school, high school, elementary school, and I'll say, "That was so and so and so and so," and she's like, "Girl, you got a good memory," and I do, and I have a very good memory. I have a very vivid memory, so I know when I penned these things in the book,
Mm-hmm.
they were crystal clear. It was like I was still there. I didn't have to think about what I was writing. It was very fluid
Mm-hmm.
because the memories are
It's gonna come back.
very vivid. Yes. Yes, Trina, you will get your signed copy. You better believe that. You absolutely will.
Because when I was coming up with the questions, focused just on the author side of it. I thought back to my first book when I wrote and put in there when I attempted suicide back in high school. Like, and I thought wrote it like, you actually put that down. I don't know. God said be transparent, but dog, it's words. That's why I didn't release the book. I wrote it in like 2 weeks in July last year. Like, I ain't about to publish that. Mm-mm. They gonna know about that about me. Mm-mm. God started doing one of these. Like, what I tell you to do? Gonna help somebody, and it helped someone on Instagram overseas that it gave them a reason to live after reading. Like, wow,
See,
see why I had to put it in there.
that's right. We have to be obedient to God. And speaking of being obedient to God, I
Mm-hmm.
wrestled a very long time with the title, but God gave me that title. He gave me that title in a dream one night.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, we're going to go with it. You're welcome, Trina. I said, okay, we're going to go with it. And, I got mixed emotions about it because
Mm-hmm.
family and, everybody's
Yeah,
like,
you know, you
we
put it out here, everybody gonna know.
out here, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. What you're doing. And then a lot of people, especially people who may suffer from mental health issues, get offended with the word crazy. But come on, let's
entry.
be real. We know what we know.
Mm-hmm.
We know. So let's just keep it just keep it real. So I wrestled for a long time with the title, but God wouldn't let me touch it. He's like, no, that's the title, and
Yeah,
that's the title, and
dope
that's
title.
the title.
It's
Thank
a
you.
dope title.
Thank you.
When I read the excerpts after the first time you was on the show in December, I was like, whoa. And it's just a tidbit.
Yeah,
It's the best seller once you get done.
I
'Cause
received that. I
of the
received.
pandemic, we're dealing with mental health because it's been there, but the pandemic made people realize you might need to talk to somebody. It's okay to talk to somebody. It's
Mhm.
okay not to be okay. To
That's
talk to
right. That's right. And let me just say, I have an amazing publisher. My publisher is actually Philemont Publishing out of
Oh,
London, England. Chris Day is amazing. He won the 2021 Best Publisher Award in London, and he is dope.
they get
He,
him on the show.
yeah, absolutely. He is no joke. So just want to shout out to Chris Day for being there, and we're getting this done. But like you were saying, getting back to what you were saying, I noticed that a lot of people started talking about mental health when a lot of celebrities started, quote unquote, coming out the closet
Yeah,
during the pandemic, because everybody was in the crib going
yeah.
stir crazy, no pun intended, and they like, oh, we need to talk. I remember what is her name? Hmm, her name eludes me. She's a sister, uh, and she started talking. She started being very transparent. But it is so amazing. It's so amazing because when I did a Google search of celebrities
Hmm.
that have mental health issues. The search was endless.
Oh yeah, I remember the NBA player Kevin Love talking about it years ago, and it was like, wow, he's talking about this. Like,
Hmm.
it's real. It ain't a dirty secret. You just need to get help so you can be better. Then other NBA players started talking about it.
Exactly. And what's so critical, and that's one of the my primary, yes, Taraji P Henson.
Thanks,
That's
Trina.
exactly. Thanks, Trina. Hmm. When she came out, people, kind of caught on, and they started, well, it's okay, Taraji's talking about it, so it's okay. But like you said, there were some other celebrities who had mentioned it in prior times, but people kind of were like,
Hmm.
shying away from it. Let's not. We don't want to go there. But then Taraji went there. When she went there, then I believe more celebrities started coming out saying, "Yeah, I'm having some issues."
Because people had a facade that, well, you're famous, you got over millions in your bank, you ain't got to worry about paying bills, getting food for your babies. What you got to complain about? But even getting there don't mean it has its own challenges.
That's right.
You poor, rich, whatever, there's still challenges in life you got to deal with.
Exactly. And no amount of money, no amount of social status, no color,
Nope.
no gender. It Mental illness does not discriminate.
Nope.
It does not discriminate. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care where you came from. It
Hmm.
doesn't care how much money you have. It doesn't care. It doesn't care. It is an illness. And what's so sad about it is, and I know you've heard this example used many times. We've all heard this example used many times. We don't trip when people have diabetes or cancer or lupus or leukemia or MS. We're not going around now, maybe a little, but for the most part, we're not going around like, shh, you know, we need to keep this a secret.
Good point, Lamont.
Mental illness is a disease
Hmm.
just like these other diseases, and it's treatable and it's manageable if you, first of all, and one of the things that I advocate is for early intervention. This was the situation with my brothers. And as I said in an article that I wrote for NAMI is the National Alliance for Mental Illness, is the grassroots mental health organization, and in the US. And what I said in the article is that I yet mourn for my brothers because they did not get the treatment that they needed when they needed. Therefore, they were not able to lead ordinary, productive lives.
Yeah.
My oldest brother ended up committing suicide. My middle brother, he was bipolar. My middle brother, who's schizophrenic, hasn't been seen in over 2 decades. He just disappeared off the face of the earth. Nobody has seen or heard from him in over 2 decades. And my youngest brother, who is schizophrenic, has been in a uh, maximum security facility for the criminally insane for over 33 years.
Yeah, because they didn't really know how to deal with it back then. So now, as we learn more, technology get better. Like, okay, you got a better way to try to treat it with medicines and everything.
Exactly. That, and also being raised in a Christian home where they thought you could pray everything away. Baby, you can't pray everything away.
No.
God gave us some common sense too. And I believe, I believe in prayer. I'm a minister. I'm a Christian. I absolutely believe in prayer. But I also believe that people need to get professional treatment.
Faith
Oh,
without works is dead.
exactly.
Gotta do both.
Yeah, yeah. Because my mama was praying up a storm and they were getting worse. So duh. We need to bust a move. We need to do something else. I always say, they have a saying now, and I coined that phrase, Jesus and therapy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you we have to call a spade a spade.
That's
We
true.
have to call it what it is. We have to call it what it is. And in my book, whenever you read, the entire book and you see some of the events that happen as a result of the mental illness, it's going to make your hair stand up on your head. And just to think, if they had gotten the treatment that they needed, if we weren't dealing with the stigma and not
Mm-hmm.
wanting to deal with it and to talk about it, they would have never gone through what they went through. We would have never gone through what we went through because they were going through what they were going through. But in turn, the whole family was going through what they were going through,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Man, that's like almost having PTSD living through something like that. And to be able to move forward and have a normal life and have a relationship with anybody. Because that's going to definitely have a different outlook on men. Like, okay, well, what might set this person off? I know my brothers, the pen drop set them off, for example. So I'm watching more closely. You good? You ain't got this problem, do you? They seen normal, then I know where it just happened. So you got your lights on with everybody. Hold on. Okay.
That's right. That's right. Because you recognize it when you see it, because living with it for all those years, and I'm still living with it because my brother, who is in the institution,
Mm-hmm.
I'm all he has. And so my goal is to talk to him on a regular basis, but he's been in a situation for the last 3 months where he doesn't want to talk. His
Okay.
counselor speaks to me on a weekly basis, though. She stays in contact with me, and I appreciate her for that, to let me know. She said he's fine. She said the other day, and he's a comedian, by the way. He's like,
Okay.
has a yeah. She said he walked past her the other day, and she said, Dwight, his name is Dwight. Dwight, we're supposed to call Cynthia every Wednesday. He said, "Oh, I'll call her next year."
Oh, dang. Oh,
And
no.
I told her, when I talked to her Thursday and we were chuckling about it, I said, the way it looks, it is going to be next year. Thank you so
Oh,
much, Trina. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
yeah. Very kind word.
Yes, yes. But yeah, so he gets in, I try to stay in contact with him. The thing about it, though, the staff at that facility knows that he has somebody who cares, because I talk to his counselor at
Mm-hmm.
least once a week, and we have deep and long conversations. And she talks about how there are so many family members or so many residents there or patients there that don't have anybody that care and don't have anybody that's, yeah. She said there's so many. So he is one of the fortunate ones, because when they weren't doing, before she came along, there was a couple of people before her, one counselor who wasn't doing what she needed to be doing as far as keeping me updated and staying in contact with me. Oh, I had to go there one day. I
I
called,
know
you know,
you did.
went straight in. I went straight in. I'm
I
like,
let
now,
know what it
yeah,
is.
I went straight in a couple times. The counselor before her, I went straight in on him because, you know, see, what they didn't realize is, number one, I've been dealing with this all of my life. So I know my brother's behaviors very well, and I know how they roll. Number two, I've also worked in a facility. I was in clerical support, but I was a unit secretary. So the unit secretary knows everything because we see everybody's charts. We
Mhm.
we we are, you know, getting their charts ready for the doctors when the doctors come to see them. So we have access. We see everything. So I know all the terminology. I know everything, right? And so his counselor is talking to me, and we had a very good relationship at the time, me and this particular counselor. And he was talking to me, and I was asking him questions, and he was, you know, not, you know, trying to, he was kind of like being a little passive. And I said, I went in, and I went in using their terminology. And when I started using some certain words, he was like,
Oh, you know.
oh, she knows. Let me get myself together here. And when I went in like that, he was like, came back. What we need to do is we need to get Dwight to sign a consent so that we can blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And it's crazy because my cousin had something wrong with his throat a few years ago. We went to emergency. My
Mm-hmm.
sister nurse, I learned some stuff from her. So I'm talking like I'm one of them, and they were straight BS. I'm like, it's 2 a.m. Where the hell these people at? So I had to, my man got whoop whoop. Oh, okay. Now I'm getting that Don Perignon treatment. And I
Right.
told sister, like, because you probably, they didn't know if you was one of the head people or someone watching them because you knew the lingo.
That's
So
right.
they like, who is this person?
That's
Bring it
right.
on point. And it shouldn't take that.
It
You're
shouldn't.
paying the job to do that to help. Go help.
Right. That's
Period.
right. That's right. And when they know that you know, then
Mm-hmm.
they know. And so the one, so he and I, we got along real good and everything was fine. Then he had to he retired for medical reasons, and he had been my brother's counselor for many years, you know, for as long as he had been at that particular facility.
Okay.
And they got this other woman who I, I don't know what her situation was, but
Uh-oh.
didn't have nothing to do with me and didn't have nothing to do with my brother. So, you know, every time, and I hadn't spoken to my brother in, like, when she became his counselor, because I used to talk to him at least once a week. And when she became his counselor, all of a sudden, I'm not hearing anything from him. Then I went through my own life transition, so to speak, where there was a period of time when I was not able to because of things that was going on with me. But then
Mhm.
when I got back on my bandwagon, I reached out to them. Every time I would call her and talk to her, oh, he's status quo. I'm like, okay, I was in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
My brother could be dead.
Yeah, let's let us
Ain't
know.
talked to him in a year, and you talking about he might be dead up in there somewhere. And y'all, I don't know. Like, you know, don't play with me. So one day I had enough of her, and she started, when I called, she started. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, and she talking about Mrs. Howard. I said, no, 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 no. You listen to me. I'm talking, and I went in. You know, my brother is a human being. He is not a number.
Mhm.
He is not a number. He is a human being. And I need this. And she got real quiet, Jeffrey. And then she said, oh, well, would you like for me to go and see if he'll come to the phone? I already knew he wasn't going to come to the phone, but I said, sure. I said, sure, I'll wait. Go ahead. I knew he wasn't coming to the phone. but I wanted her to do what she needed to be. Had
Good
been.
job.
Say it again. Say it
Good
again.
job. Play your
Good
position.
job. Right. I said, sure. I said, go ahead. I knew he wasn't coming to the phone. You know, I just kind of felt like he wasn't, even though I hadn't talked to him in a very long time. Because that's the thing. When you're dealing with people with mental health issues, and like my brother, he's schizophrenic, so he has a lot of manic episodes, and he is delusional oftentimes, and all those types of situations. So like I said, I know his MO and I know how he functions, but the thing about it is, when you're dealing with an individual that has a mental illness, they need to be, you need to make sure that things are consistent with them. And so because once that consistency, for instance, like I said, if we're talking every week, then that needs to maintain, because if something changes with them, that kind of throws them off. You know what I'm saying? They're already dealing with mental health issues, so then you throw them off their game, so then that throws like a monkey wrench in everything. So I knew, because since he hadn't talked to me in such a long time, I knew just her popping in out the clear blue sky and saying, Cynthia's on the phone, you want to talk to her? I knew he wasn't going to say, yeah, not like normal people, quote unquote. If it's normal, we're normal, and we haven't talked to somebody in a while, and somebody comes and say, hey, so and so is on the phone, we like, yeah. But when you're suffering from mental health issues, and when you're delusional and schizophrenic and all that, manic and all that, and then somebody just comes and throw something out there out of the clear blue sky, you're probably not going to respond in a positive manner. So she's like, did you want me to, I'll go and see if he'll come to the phone. I said, sure, go ahead. I'm thinking to myself, he ain't coming to the phone, but like you said, go do your job. So she goes, and I could hear her walking, and I could actually hear her talking to him, because I guess she was close to where he was. And, in those types of facilities, the acoustics, you know how the acoustics are. So I could hear her talking, and she comes back to the phone, and she said, oh, he doesn't want to come to the phone. I said, that's fine. I said, but thank you so much for trying. I said, I appreciate it. And shortly thereafter, she was moved to another position, and he got another counselor who was very good. She was a young sister, and we spoke. I told her, my expectations. And I'm like, I know my brother. I've been living with I've known my brother all my life, and I know about his illness. So I know how he rolls. So when I spoke to her and I gave her some insight about him and all of that, and she said, okay. And that little sister was on top of her game. And then, and then she left, and he just recently, probably since November, I think, got a new counselor, but she is on top of her game. Like I said, he's supposed to call me, I'm supposed to have a phone call every week, but he is in his funk, but she makes sure she calls me every week.
That's awesome. You got a real one posting for you.
Real one. And I said all that to say, so it's not over. I'm still having the experience, because I'm still having to deal, even though my brother is in a facility, I'm still having to deal with, okay, he don't want to talk, but I know he's okay, at least, because she lets me know he's fine, but he doesn't want to talk. And the other day we were talking, and she was like, she said, I know it's not you, so don't take it personally, because he would let me know, and he would let her know, because he is that type. As I always say, he crazy, but he got good sense.
I hear you. You can.
Yeah, I know him. So, but he's in whatever state he's in, that he's just not talking. So there's nothing I can do. I can't force his hand. The last time that they tried to schedule me to visit with him, which has been, I have not physically seen my brother except on Skype, maybe a year ago. Before that, I had not seen him physically in years. And when I tried to see him, the counselor at the time called me and said I had planned everything to go and see him. The counselor said, got bad news. And I'm thinking, okay, he's in one of his phones. He just decided I don't want to see her. But come to find out, the issue was because of the facility that he was in. Once he saw me, and the visits are contact visits, you can actually, sit with them. But because of the facility, once our visit was over, they would have to strip search him when he went back in. And he was like, I ain't having it. And I said, I don't believe you.
Oh man, that's a rough one right there.
Yeah, so I could understand that. I said, well, yeah, I wouldn't want them strip searching me either. So I have literally not had any physical contact with him. I've lost count of the years now.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, I finally actually saw him again about maybe a year and a half ago, where he did agree to do a Skype call. He was going to do that every week. Yeah, but he was going to do that every week. And that didn't happen because that's his.
Yeah, he up and down, unfortunately.
Yeah. So he's one of the main characters in the book, by the way, because he was the most dramatic of all. He's a piece of work.
Might turn into a movie now.
You know what? I have. You're like the third person. You are like the third or fourth person that has said that I've interviewed with that has said that. So I know that's going to happen because this is like the fourth time that's been spoken.
Hey, I got the soundtrack. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, we gonna do this.
Got you covered.
We gonna do this. Yeah.
What has been the reaction from people who have read excerpt from Crazy Didn't Get Me?
I've gotten one reaction that I got, which was great, was actually a mentor of mine. Okay. And he said, wow. He said, this is like, he said, right from the beginning, he said, this book is really going to sell. That was his response. And other people have said, wow, like, it sounds like, I mean, that really happened. I am so sorry. And, people are just amazed. Like, are you serious? That happened?
It's real.
Like, yeah, that happened. I ain't making it up. Listen, I swear on the Holy Bible, not making it up. It happened. And yeah, so people can't wait. People that have read the excerpt, like, oh my goodness, I cannot wait.
And gritty and truthful.
Yeah, it is. And if you think the excerpt, if you think that was hard and gritty and truthful, I remember when I had my interview with Jenny Russell over in London, and that was how she termed the interview, because we did a part 1 and a part 2, and on and in the part 1 she was like, it's hard. She said it's hard, and it was because we got it's gritty. It's gritty. Yes, Trina. Yes. We are going all the way in, Trina. We're not stopping just at the book. And I believe God can do anything. And I like that anything in all books, movies, etc. Yeah, I'm believing God for that, Trina. I really am. So yeah, Lamont said he's glad I could run. And yeah, because as I talk about in my excerpt, I had to run that day. And like I said, it was kind of comical, the part where I've never been a runner. I couldn't even make it around the track when I was in school, when we were in high school. And the first thing we did when we came to gym, we had to run around the track one time. I don't know if y'all had to do that, but back in my day.
I was short and fat. That was horrible. Like, time out, man. Let me get adjusted. Ain't too many honey buns already. What you talking about, bro? But they got me in shape though. Cause that was everyday thing in gym. Like, y'all gonna hit that track 16 laps. Then we're gonna do the other stuff. Like, okay, Jeff, You gotta figure this out. So stop going to the stove twice a day. Drink more water. Do some push-ups. Get your mind right.
I, you're funny. I wasn't short and fat, but I couldn't run. Now I could. I eventually became a runner as I got older because I've always told myself I'm gonna prove to myself I can run. But when I was in school, baby, I could I would get about a third of the way around that track, and I think I finally figured it out. It had to do with breathing. I didn't know how to breathe,
Yeah.
because
I
I
was
just
on
didn't know how
13
to
in high
breathe.
school. I
Yeah,
learned that. And I got
yeah,
slim. Boy, it was just that suckling chocolate brother, like, oh, he lost weight. Yeah. Look at me now, baby. Representing. You back on that grind now, be Black Thor.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so that so that day when that happened with my brother that day, I had to learn how to run quick, like, and in a hurry and fast, because it was either I was gonna run and get away from him, or
Yeah,
he.
Trina.
Yeah, I know Trina, right? He's hilarious.
Musician ain't got no sense.
Yeah. So that day I knew I better do something. You either gonna run or you gonna perish.
Yeah.
You gonna get you
Fight or
either
flight.
gonna, yeah, fright or flight. That's right. You better run or you about to get jacked up.
In the halls of Cooler High School back in the 90s, you hear pop, pop, pop. Shout out to
See?
Peter Gonzalez, underlay. Gone. Like, you ain't need no running instructor like said. You just, oh, they shooting in the hallway. Where can I go?
Wow. Wow.
So if you
Wow.
was in trouble, you took off.
Yeah.
I get out of here.
Yeah. Well, dealing with my brother's mental illnesses was like shooting in the hallway.
All day. I mean, I'm saluting because you survivors. That's every day.
Man,
I don't want the cereal, and they pop off like, dog.
yeah,
What?
yeah. It's in the book. I remember a time that I had to jump out a window at my house, and we lived in an old house, and it was high up off the ground. It was it was high up off the ground. I either had to take a chance of getting my legs broken or getting a beat down. And I decided I would take a chance of getting my ankle broken or my leg or my ankle broken by jumping out the window with my pajamas on at night. So I had to make a choice, either jump out the window or get jumped on. Because I heard him when he said, this was Dwight. He said he had gone on a rampage, and this is in the book because that's when my oldest brother committed suicide. And when we got the word that my oldest brother had committed suicide, Dwight just like he snapped. He went there and he was doing all manner of stuff, trying to set the neighbor's house afire. And oh, he went there. And I heard him say, I was in the back of the house. We lived in this old house, but it was like big. And I was in the back of the house and I heard him say, and I got one more I got to get. And I know he was talking about me. I knew he was talking about me. And the thing about it is, y'all don't judge me. My son at the time was a toddler, and he was crazy about my son. Thank you so much, Trina. Thank you so much. Thank you as well. And my son was between me and him, and I had to make a decision. I'm just gonna don't judge me. Don't judge me. I'm like, I
Oh no, that's a horrible thing you got to choose from.
yeah. But I knew that I knew deep down in my heart because he was crazy about my son. He used to, when I would work, he babysat him. When I was at work and I couldn't take my son to get his shots, his vaccinations. He took my son to get all of his vaccinations and everything. He was crazy about my baby. And my son was like about 2 or 3 years old. And like I said, when he said, I got one more I got to get, And he was in the living room. My son was in the dining room, and I was in the back. So my son was between me and him. And I said, "Ooh,
You got love for him, but you don't like me that much."
there you go. There you go." Yeah, I knew. See, I knew. I had been around the block a few times. You know what I'm saying? When you know what you know, you just know what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I when I tell you, I raised that window and hit that ground in just the nick of time, because when my feet hit the ground, I heard him bust the door open to the room. And I was gone. I was booking. I didn't look back. I didn't stop till I got to my friend's house, which was several blocks away.
Man.
And come to find out, during that rampage, one of the fire detectives who had come out, because like I said, he tried to set a fire around the neighbor's house. We understand he was pouring gasoline around the house. All of this is in the book. Yeah. And when the fire investigators came out, he was going off, because at the time I guess nobody had called the paramedics or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So he had an altercation with the with the the fire investigator, and he said I ought to have him arrested. He blacked my eye, because he lost it. He lost it.
No
And I
one.
think about, I was on a symposium, I was on a webinar today, and they were talking about, the 988 number now that they have to call when somebody with a mental health issue is having an episode. You dial 988, and you get a mental health professional to respond versus the police, because police aren't trained to deal with these types of situations, and so many people with mental health issues have lost their lives at the hand
988.
of, say it again,
988.
988. Let me make sure it's 988 and not, yeah, 988. So
Okay.
that's the number that you dial now, and you will get a mental health professional that will respond
I'm gonna
versus
put that on the when I do this post. I'm gonna
please,
put that on there so they know what
please.
that number is, and that's like the police number for this.
It's actually, so what it is you get a mental health professional, because the whole concept is when people would call 911 and a police would respond,
Yeah,
a lot of people have they're in danger because the cops aren't trained to deal with people with mental health issues. They're trained to take people down if they look like something's about to happen to them, if they feel like they're in danger. So when you call 988, back in the day, there was no 988. It was 911. And whoever showed up, showed up.
They had to protect themselves, and some people unfortunately are gone or got wounded badly because
Exactly.
they
Because
tell you what you don't. Okay, put them down.
because I know someone in our hometown. Thank God it didn't happen to my brother, but there was a young man in our hometown, and I'm from a very small town, and it really rocked. It rocked the city, because I'm from a very small town. Population there now maybe 35, 40,000, I don't know. But at the time it was even less. But this uh young man had mental health issues. I don't know exactly what he was diagnosed with, and he was having an episode, and the police were called, and I guess they felt threatened. To my knowledge, he didn't have a weapon or anything, but apparently they felt threatened, and they killed that boy. They killed that boy. So, and back then it was kind of a shocker, because you didn't hear about that, because this was like maybe like in the 80s.
Yeah, it happened 90s, early millennium out here, and they find out they had those issues. Like they got a weapon, we tell them to stop. People trying to tell them like, they mental health, don't kill them. They like, we telling this person to stop. And they steady coming towards because they probably on one. Like, we trying to put you down.
They're trained. That's what they're trained to do. Exactly. That's what they're trained to do. And it's by the grace of God that that didn't happen to my brother. And I'm not going to tell everything that's in the book, but it's also in the book about I was an emergency room registrar. I actually, registered people into the emergency room I
Oh,
was
okay.
about to I was about to get off my shift one day. Who comes in with the police?
You're welcome, Lamont.
Um, this is not the time or not the place. But anyway, who comes in but the police with my brother?
Hmm.
Now imagine I'm at work,
Uh-oh.
and I had seen where when I came in that day and I was doing my charting, I worked 7 to 3:30.
Okay.
When I came in that day, I saw a chart. My brother they had brought him to the emergency room the day before, 3 to 11. I guess they released him. They brought him back 11 to 7. And now he's coming back again
Wow.
on the 7 to 3:30 shift because it was right at the end of my shift. He comes in, and I guess the cops had beat the mess out of him because his eyes were black, and I heard one of them say something about he spit on him.
Hmm.
They had beat him. The boy was mentally ill. But again, you see how they responded to that? Because they're not trained to
Mhm.
deal with people with mental illnesses. And I understand they're trained to deal with criminals, you know,
That is true.
not people with mental health issues. So I am so glad that they did get that, law passed. It was a couple of years, I think, in effect to get that 988 number. But
I know about that. It's new to me.
yeah. So yeah, they were actually talking about it today. I was on a webinar, the Black Mental Health Alliance.
Okay.
Was on a webinar with them today, and it was actually a sister. The title of her book is Jail to Joy. As a matter of fact, uh, PhD. I have a PhD, but I'm bipolar. She has a PhD, but she's
Oh.
bipolar. But she's talking about having an episode and having to go to jail when she should have been going to a mental health facility.
That's true.
They took her to jail, and to this day, and this only happened, this happened recently, like within the last, what, within the last decade. But she's a sister, and she has a PhD, but she has bipolar. She lives with bipolar, but it's managed, because she does what she's supposed to do.
Hmm.
But my point is talking about the 988 number, because she was having an episode, I guess, and somebody called 911, and she goes to jail instead of going to the emergency room to be, evaluated.
Now, what were the challenges writing this book?
Ah, challenges. I guess it kind of like piggybacks off of what I said about when I got to those places that just seemed so unbelievable,
Okay.
that I can't believe this is happening. um it kind of made me want to just stop writing it, because I had to relive it. Yeah, I guess the challenge would be having
Relive.
to actually relive what I went through.
Okay. Now,
Mhm.
how did you feel? What emotions you felt after the book was done and ready to publish? At the end of the road. What was your
I
feeling?
I breathed a sigh of relief. I'm like, wow, I did it. I actually finished it. That was my emotion was, I was elated. I was very happy that I had actually finished it, um, and it was ready to go, even though that was in 2017.
Hey, you did it. What advice do you have for families dealing with mental health?
My advice that I have an acronym, and it's IDA, IDA. And what that acronym means is, number one, or the first letter I, is to identify unusual behaviors. Now, We all know our loved ones, and we know how they act and what they do. And some of them do some acting out, and we're accustomed to that. But whenever you see somebody that's acting out unusually,
Mm-hmm.
you need to know to identify that as a possible mental health issue going on. So I would say to a family member, the first thing you want to do is identify unusual behaviors. If you're not sure, then reach out to a professional or reach out to a trusted source and say, hey, you know, some unusual behaviors, sleeping too much or not sleeping enough, avoiding friends and social activities, becoming overly aggressive and angry, extremely angry, not eating too much. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, these are things that a lot of times we see as usual behaviors, but not all the time. So identify those unusual behaviors. The second thing is the D. Don't deny what you're observing. If you see unusual behavior, call it out. Call it what it is. When I say call it out, I don't mean to the person, oh, you're acting unusual. I don't mean that. I mean, in your mind, you call it and don't go into denial because that's part of the problem. A lot of family members deny what they see. So the D is for don't deny. And then finally, the A is act. ACT, act, and act quickly to get professional treatment for that individual. So you want to identify, don't deny, and act quickly to get them the treatment that they need so that they can live an ordinary, productive, and fulfilling life.
Okay. Um, always. The last question. What advice do you have for someone trying to find their purpose?
The advice that I have for someone who is trying to find their purpose is to find your purpose. Because a lot of people say, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. What's your passion? What is that thing that you do it with your eyes closed? What is that thing that you you think about day and night all the time? What is that thing that no matter what you're talking about or what you're doing, it always comes to you're going to talk about that thing? What is that thing that just comes so naturally to you? That's probably what your purpose is. And so when you talk about finding your purpose, you really don't have to look that hard. Most of us make it harder than it is. Most of us make finding our purpose harder than it is. It's really not that hard. Find your passion and you'll find your purpose. How about that?
That's pretty awesome. Find your passion. You'll find your purpose.
Whatever that thing is that you're passionate about, more than likely is what your purpose is. And then once you do that, then seek mentors. And it doesn't always have to be somebody that you're actually talking to. I have a lot of mentors that don't even know they're mentoring me.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So, and get around other people who are purpose driven. Get around other people. And I love your posts. You always post such inspirational posts every day about reaching and doing what it is that you've been called to do, and keep on doing that, Jeffrey. And I appreciate that so much. I love those posts, and I love those original quotes that you put out every day. So get around people like a Jeffrey that's doing things and that's going somewhere and that's reaching to help you further your purpose.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, that's the big man. I pray, and after a minute or two, he give me something to put on, and I post it.
Exactly. And speaking of prayer, when you talk about finding your purpose, also, if you don't know, ask God. You know, he said, you can ask me, you know, if you desire, you know, wisdom, ask me. Or, you know, trust in me with all your heart. Don't lean to your own understanding. And here's the key: in all of your ways, acknowledge me, and I will direct your path. So ask God. He made the purpose in you. He put purpose in you. So who better? Who better? So let me rewind all the way back to the question. What would you say to somebody that's trying to find your purpose? Find your higher power, whomever you say that he, she, it is, and ask that person. Mine is God, the only true and the living God. Ask him. He'll tell you what your purpose is.
Now, when the book coming out?
We don't have an exact date, but
Okay.
when we get the date, we will let you know. But it will be 2022.
Okay. You heard it here. The whole origin story of Crazy Didn't Get Me from the author. Oh, my bad. Let me say the whole thing. Mental health advocate, minister, international speaker, life coach, founder, CEO of How Well Are You? Best-selling author and author of Crazy Didn't Get Me. My family, Cynthia, Mobley, How. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And can I just say real quick that the listeners, please go to my website, and it's right there on your screen, at www.cynthiamobleyhowell.com, and you will be able to access the excerpt that we were talking about earlier of the soon to be released bestseller, Crazy Didn't Get Me. So you go to my website. When you go to my website, page will pop right up. You click on it, and you'll be able to read that excerpt.
I got a last comment.
Thank you so much for having me again, Jeffrey. This is 3 times. That's pretty good. I was thinking, I'm like, man, I must be okay. He trusts me.
Everybody that's a guest has a standing invitation. You want to come back.
And I know you don't have a drought for guests, because you popping them off like this. So it ain't like you just you digging at the bottom of the barrel now. You stay busy. You stay busy. So I count this an honor and a privilege, because you stay busy. Yeah, you ain't hurting for guests. I know that for a fact. You are not hurting for guests.
Hey, you know I'm full. I can do it myself. I got to. You know I'm full.
You're welcome.
I'm about to try this outro, and you can hear it before I end the whole hookup.
All right.
I got one more thing. Oh.
You're welcome, Lamont.
Great job. Okay. That's all. People post something, so you can hear the whole thing now before I hit the end podcast.
All right.
Well, we're doing something new here.
Let's go.
Appreciate everybody. Till the next episode. Y'all can check out the ending. Then I'm hit the end podcast.
313 Detroit's love, the Motor City. Detroit's love, can't nothing stop me. Detroit's love, I love my city. Detroit's love, that 313. Detroit raised me. Detroit